The top student in the school, Gao Zhenyu, trembles as she bows down before the lovely and musical Ellen in order to propose to her. The entire school is gathered on the deck to see the historic event. Ellen blushes when Gao offers her a bunch of flowers. They are all mesmerized by their love and jokingly referred to as Jack and Rose from Titanic by the cheering crowd. Kin Tun appears unaware of the proposal among the bystanders as he is preoccupied with watching the vlogs of his favorite YouTuber. The ship suddenly lurches severely, causing concern and drawing everyone's attention to the sky, which is growing darker. A thunderstorm erupts, unleashing dangerous ocean waves that slam into the ship. Students are quickly instructed by staff members to seek refuge within the cabin and leave the deck. Kin ignores the pandemonium around him, suspecting that it is now useless to find shelter under the ship, as Gao anxiously calls out to him. Kin takes a life jacket and dives from the sinking ship, determined to defy the crowd. Kin seems to be the only survivor when the enormous ship vanishes under the merciless ocean in a matter of minutes. On the outskirts of what appears to be an uninhabited island, Kin regains consciousness. Although his body hurts and he feels exhausted, he's relieved to know that he is still alive. He looks around at his new surroundings with a smile and finds refuge under a coconut tree. He squeezes water from his shirt. Kin draws water from the coconuts while seated on the sandy ground. He hydrates himself as thoughts of his likelihood of a rescue race through his head. He makes the assumption that if the word of the catastrophe spreads rapidly, help might show up in less than a day or two. If it takes longer, he must be ready to survive on the island for a minimum of 6 days before even beginning to wait for rescue. Kin's eyes notice some fallen coconuts as the last issue of food comes up. He is grateful for their existence and realizes they will keep him going for at least a week. Kin starts to crack open the coconuts and drink their milk after getting his knife, a souvenir from his regular viewing of the YouTube channel Master Tak Show. A 3D projection screen appears before Kin out of nowhere, asking him to click on the picture of a beginner product, a novice package. 2 books are presented to him on the television, Common Plants and Common Animals. Kin initially rejects the notion of reading while trapped. However, when his head starts spinning and he starts to know about how to survive, he realizes that these books contain important knowledge. The information contained in them immediately floods his consciousness. Kin wonders if there are any other kinds of life on the island. He wonders what awaits him amid the difficulties of this mysterious region. His curiosity piques. Kin runs in the direction of the sound after hearing rustling in the bushes. He moved the weeds out of the way to expose a terrified Ellen. She's sitting naked with her dress on one side. Nearby, a poisonous snake waits to attack. Reappearing in front of Kin, the projection screen displays information about the snake. A small to medium-sized venomous species with an oval head, a blunt snout, and other distinguishing features. Its poisonous venom can kill or render a person unable. Ellen screams and begs for assistance. Quickly grabbing the snake by the tail, Kin slams the animal's head firmly against a nearby tree. It dies on the spot. Ellen collects herself and attempts to identify Kin. Kin instructs her to get dressed first as he moves away, showing his decency by not taking advantage of the circumstance. Ellen puts on a long white gown that she'd been drying in the bushes when the snake interrupted. She briefly doubts her own appearance, wondering whether she isn't stunning enough to draw attention. Ellen walks up to Kin and sighs with relief at least seeing him when Kin introduces himself to her. She feels joy in finding a friend from the doomed boat. She holds his hands out of excitement. Kin offers her a coconut besides. He thinks women need more water than males do. Ellen gratefully receives the coconut and sips the cool liquid. When she's done, Kin inquires whether she has any equipment that could help with the communication with the outside world. Ellen shakes her head regrettably, admitting that the calamity cost her everything. She reassures Kin that help is on the way and that they will be saved in approximately 3 days. Ellen's positivity in the face of this awful circumstance strikes a chord with Kin. Kin considers lighting a fire in order to stay warm and fend off snakes and mosquitoes. Ellen wants to know if they can't just make a fire with wood as they do on television. According to Kin, it would be difficult for novices like them and take at least a day to complete it. He advises them to search the coastline for any signs of their crews that might help start a fire. They look for an hour without finding anything. Ellen finally finds a hidden plastic bottle in the sand and gets ready to throw it in the ocean. Kin steps in after realizing it can help them. He gathers dried leaves and branches. He places the water-filled bottle at a certain angle in the wood after gathering the branches and dried leaves in one location. Ellen is told by Kin that placing the water-filled plastic bottle in a specific location will cause it to behave as a magnifying glass, starting the fire. After struggling for a while, sparks begin to appear from the leaves, ultimately igniting. Together, Kin and Ellen sigh with satisfaction at their discovery of a solution to their dilemma. In the pitch blackness around the roaring fire in the island, Kin and Ellen sat in silence. Ellen's optimism has diminished and been replaced by hopelessness. She expresses her worries, wondering if they will ever be saved or if they will perish on the island. Kin tries to reassure after noticing her fear. Kin says softly that it is impossible for the rescue crew to not arrive. Ellen, the extent of the destruction, guarantees that assistance will come. Giving in just demonstrates our subordination to the situation. No matter what lies ahead, we must maintain our positive attitude. We have a lot of coconuts on this island, even if it takes 6 days for help to come. They will keep us going. We can live entirely off of the coconuts. Ellen finds comfort in Kin's comments and some of her concerns are lessened. The peace is suddenly broken by Kin's return with a snake, which he quickly decapitates with his knife. Observing this, Ellen makes the assumption that Kin plans to roast the snake for dinner. She cries out indignantly, saying she'd sooner starve or drown than eat such a thing. Unfazed, Kin starts to devour the snake and talks about his gastronomic adventure. Kin in an encouraging tone says, "Ellen, the flavor is pleasantly surprising. Insides and out are soft, yet the outside is crispy. You are squandering this chance." Ellen reluctantly observes Kin continuing to consume the snake. She resentfully takes hold of the remaining piece in rage as she starts to eat it since she's so hungry. Her first rejection is overcome by the alluring perfume and her intense desire. She doesn't anticipate the roasted snake to taste as good as it does. She eats the whole meal. Kin wonders if the projection system is shut down for the day as she thinks about it. Meanwhile, the system appears in front of his eyes. He tries to keep it from Ellen since he knows how scared she'll be. Kin's actions cause Ellen to jump in fright, which leads him to reassure and decides to keep the system a secret. She is still ignorant that he can see her through the device. Someone has successfully started the fire on the island, receiving 100 points as compensation, as seen by the quick appearance of the projection screen. The points can be used to purchase a variety of products from the system store, the screen informs Kin. He starts to investigate the system and finds a ton of things, each with a point value. Even the smallest item costs 2,000 points, thus the prices are outrageous. Kin is still afraid to open any of the store's books. Currently on the sand, Kin and Ellen are thinking about their predicament. Kin understands that relying entirely on coconuts, which mostly give carbohydrates, won't be able to supply the required protein. He intends to go fishing with Ellen along the coast in the morning to make up for their lack of protein. Kin extends his hand once more towards the snake remnants as he continues to explore the system and finishes his food. In search of warmth, Kin and Ellen get closer to the fire. Kin shivers involuntarily as the cold grips him. Ellen's eyes are closed when he glances at her. Kin is worried that she might be unconscious from hypothermia. Ellen doesn't answer when he calls her name repeatedly. In an effort to wake her up from her unconsciousness, he softly touches her. Kin is relieved as Ellen's eyes flare open. Ellen yells with anger. "What do you think you're doing?" she asked him. "On this barren island, don't you dare touch me. I used to think you were a good man, but now you've lost any moral character." Kin withdraws to the fire to warm his hands while remaining silent and repentant. He asks if Ellen is feeling cold without even turning to face her. Ellen slowly becomes aware of the chilly weather and their lack of warm gear. There is a huge temperature variation between day and night in this barren location of deserted island according to Kin. Warm clothing was also unneeded because their trip was moving towards the equator. After some time, Kin turns to face Ellen and suggests they embrace to fend off the chill. Ellen declines the proposition right away. But as time goes on, Ellen discovers that her hands and feet are still chilly and they start to turn purple despite being seated close to the bonfire. She considers the notion that since they are the only living things here, some of their warmth is being lost. Kin is the one who saved her life. Hugging now seems like a good idea. She casts a quick glance towards Kin, who recognizes her readiness to accept the offer. Ellen softly asks, "Kin, close your eyes." Kin jokingly asks if she intends to strip off, but he quickly reassures her that because they aren't wearing warm clothing, their bodies easily dissipate heat. He approaches Ellen and gently grabs her bare shoulders before giving her an embrace. They find comfort in each other's warmth when the sun comes up, overwhelmed with happiness. Excitedly dancing, she awakens Kin in the process. They both turn their hands toward the rising sun, entranced by its beauty. Ellen is urged by Kin to gather stranded prawns and crabs and return them to the sea, after he detects the low tide at the shore. With their spirits raised, they begin gathering food. Ellen suddenly sobs after a crab bites her finger. She cries out for aid and calls out Kin's name. Kin quickly throws a huge stone at the crab, crushing it. He then takes off his shirt and gathers the crab in it as a temporary container. As they see they have enough seafood for breakfast, excitement floods the air. As he carefully removes the carcasses, Kin is busy preparing the crabs for breakfast. Ellen, who's observing from a nearby stone, interrupts and says that they shouldn't throw away carcasses because they are packed with flesh. She emphasizes the value of making the most of all available food by bringing up the fact that she was still hungry yesterday, even after eating the snake. Kin notes that because crabs are frigid in nature, eating too much crab meat could make her feel sick. As Kin roasts the crab over the fire, Ellen begrudgingly concurs. While preparing food, Kin makes a suggestion that they should seek refuge in the forest because the nights on the shore are bitterly cold and might perhaps result in paralysis as they have already spent a night in the freezing cold deserted island. Ellen thinks that they ought to construct a sanctuary in the seashore. Kin responds that the forest also provides a range of food sources in addition to shelter. After gathering enough water and signaling with stones to write SOS for assistance to guarantee that they don't miss the rescue team, Ellen finally agrees and they decide to walk into the jungle. Ken uses friction between his body and the tree to climb up using the technique called bipedal method and grab coconuts for water as an example. He's having trouble because coconut trees are less resistive because of their own smooth surfaces, so he's perspiring a lot. Once he uses a sufficient number of coconuts, he lowers and they start filling a plastic container with the coconut water. They enjoy the increased quantity and quality of the new coconuts while quenching their thirst. Then they proceed to the woods after making an SOS sign out of stones. Ken shows his former interest in animals and his wish to go on similar excursions when he's strolling. But right now, all he wants is to be lying on his bed. Ken cautions Ellen not to put her lips near the bottle's edge while she drinks the water from it. Ellen wonders aloud what Ken is doing and why he continues glancing towards the bushes. The snake that attacked Ken yesterday generally lives in fresh water and emerges to hunt, according to Ken. This means that fresh water is present close by. He indicates a clear path that might be taken by wild animals in order to show them the way to fresh water. Ellen, who's a little upset, thinks Ken is making fun of her before realizing he enjoys being outside. Ken corrects her and acknowledges his passion for outdoor pursuits but lack of competence in the field. In case they can't get fresh water, Ken considers going back to the shore to build a fire. Ken wonders what Ellen is doing while she remains still. She cautions him to pay close attention. After pushing back shrubs, they find a stream of pure water after following the sound. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and press that bell icon to know about our latest videos.